Hello, this is Chris, also known as Rungok, and this is my Minecraft world used to build Echo Mirage, or known as the Echo Mirage Academy of the Arts, a school of magic for a Pathfinder game I am running, a campaign that I am calling My Life at Magic High. This would be the second generation of the campaign. I've already ran it for a few years before, and it turned out to be quite well beloved, so I am working on expounding upon it and making it better. You may have noticed this. This was my palette swatch. I put up a bunch of the base materials that I liked out of the mods and mod packs that I had assembled pieces from to make it this whole school. So just so I could have a good look at how it looked and how it would interact with other pieces, and that is why that's there like this. You'll see some of that later on as things are going, but first this is my first time doing audio recording in a video, so forgive me if I mess things up. I'm a little nervous about talking to people, even though you're really not here. That's right, sheep. Alright, so the first things first is the school was designed this time around to be more almost akin to a fortress after what happened the last time, which had actually ended with the destruction of the school grounds almost completely, only because of the actions of the students, the player characters in the last campaign, were many lives saved. So the school has been moved. It is no longer anywhere on like the normal exterior of the world. It's actually been built into a demi-plane that is basically a pocket dimension set inside the astral plane. To access it, there are a number of gates that have been built all over the world that students can use to enter to an astral passageway that leads to the gate that actually enters the school. This astral passageway is guarded by a dragon, an astral dragon that had been hatched by the school only about 10 years ago, so it's not a very powerful one yet, but it is still pretty good at least dissuading your average wanderer from going in, as well as warning the defenders inside the school that something is coming if it is too strong for it to fight off. Where this is just to simulate the traveling through the astral plane to get to the portal, which leads you into the portal room. This portal room is, to talk about scale, these blocks are in Minecraft normally supposed to represent 3 feet, but for Pathfinder D&D purposes, each square on the ground is 5 feet. So they're little 5 by 5 sets. So this portal's 10 feet wide here, 20 feet wide here. So there is a scale difference. Items, we just have to imagine, for the purposes of this video tutorial, that they are of appropriate size for what they are. So we're not going to have no one's going to have a bed that's literally 10 feet long and 5 feet wide. I mean, I would appreciate a bed like that, but they don't make them like that. One of the first things you find here when you enter this room is that there are 3 of these arranged arches. These are golem alcoves. The runes stones here are to help keep the golems protected and inert unless the school is under attack. The craft master, or the quartermaster for the school, Zago, has crafted a number of clockwork golems that rest in each of these alcoves. They don't really move, even if beat on by students. The only time that they will move is if there is an invader. This is the mailroom where the portal master will sort through any kind of messages, packages, and whatnot, and put them in the mailboxes for students. This is their office where they can reside during the off time, that they're not busy handling sorting mail or going out to the actual, through the portal to different gates to get mail for the students who come from different regions across the world. This is the first time we encountered this. I'm going to explain it. These stones are ward stones. They're basically what you would consider a magic wall. They project an invisible field of force that stops anybody who is not authorized to be beyond that location to enter. To anyone that's not allowed, it's basically as solid as an iron wall. But to anybody else, they can just walk right through because it doesn't really exist for them. Going past here is the family waiting rooms. This is a place where family members of students can come and sit while they wait for their student to finish collecting their clothes or whatever it is and come to see them, or if they come to visit during holidays and whatnot. I include bathrooms in these areas because it is, surprisingly, I discovered while building this school, very important to make sure that there are toilets at hand in most locations, even if it's just so that people can relieve themselves. And considering the scale of the school, how this hallway itself is 10 feet by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet long, I mean, you don't want to have to run hundreds of feet to another area of a school just to be able to relieve yourself. Past the waiting rooms is actually the stairwells. These go up to the second floor, and I'm going to explore that first because there's quite a bit going on up on the lower floor, and the second floor is not as filled. There may be expansions to this later, but I'm pretty happy with how everything has gone so far, so it's not going to be a huge deal. Down this way is actually leading to Zago's Golem Foundry. This is where he actually assembles new clockwork golems. He's got work tables, tools, and some material storage bins and the research books needed to do those things. It is warded so that only he can enter this area, but people could stand at the hallway right outside and watch if they really wanted to annoy him. This way is the Student Activity Center. More security there. Now, these may seem like they might be a bit intimidating to new students, but really they are specifically not to react to anything that students do, so they shouldn't feel threatened. They statistically, one of these things going on a rampage through the school would pretty much wipe the entire class of students because their golems are almost entirely immune to magic, and they're terribly deadly to first level characters. So they're specifically programmed or built to not react to them. Up here in the activity center we've got club rooms. They are decently sized, but I have not furnished them because different clubs have different needs, and since I only have 3 club rooms, they are to be allotted different time slots for different clubs, maybe based on day. This is a secondary commons room. It's basically just a place for students to hang out, socialize, and or just relax. There's bookshelves and books. This is the central intersection of the school halls, so providing the glass windows there that look down into the area is kind of interesting. You can see students passing by beneath and just kind of have an idea that there's things going on. Over here is the assembly hall. This is where school dances, meetings, the announcements are made, as well as band playing and other musical things or stage performances. We have the stage here. We have plenty of bench seating and chair seating. And to this side here we have the band room for the people who actually like playing music, like bards. Places for them to sit or set their instruments, and storage for other things. And a mirror in case you want to fix your hair. I tried to consider a lot of convenience things about like what would really reasonably be in a school planned and built by intelligent people. So if you see something that's obviously like dumb design, please feel free to comment, and I will take a look at that and see if there's a validity to the issue. This is the pool and sports room. Yes, I know that basketball was invented in the 40s, but this is something that it just at least represents that there is a sports court here, and a fairly long, fairly deep pool. It goes to 10 feet deep in the center. So we have that and a skylight because, you know, running around during the day daylight's supposed to be very invigorating. Now, I mean, most of the students know that there isn't actual true daylight because they're in a demi-plane, but at least it looks like the sun is pouring through, and that's what's important. Here are the changing rooms for people to switch into swimsuits or their gym gear clothes, including toilets and sinks. And a lot of these are currently gender specific, and they're worded specifically for people of certain types. And there is, I suppose if you want to go into the differences in gender norms, there were a lot of binary arrangements, but this is just a very general view of things. Specific identities can be, it's not based off of just pure physical arrangement. It's based off of what it is, what they're set when they put on the, when the students put on the bracelet that they're given to enter the school. It's basically like an ID key. It's a badge that lets them get into different areas of the school. So their badge will let them know, or will allow them into certain types of rooms where otherwise they wouldn't be allowed in. So that would be where they make a decision there. And there are a couple of places where it's not really, it doesn't really matter. So there you have that. This is a gym, and I know it's a school for magic, but there's still a thing about fitness of body helping with fitness of mind. So they've got yoga mats and balance balls and actual weights and stuff to lift. So there's that. Then proceeding down the stairs, because that's all that's going on upstairs right now. Proceeding down the stairs and continuing, we've made it to that same major intersection. Hanging chandelier. To our right is the classes and anything relevant to actual education. To our left is the dorms and other student support facilities, and down this way is the exterior and other kind of life sciences, and or more specifically, you know, outdoors and living focused things. So let's start with the right. We're going to look at the school parts of these things. To the right here, we'll have the access to the faculty offices. Here's where teachers will have their offices and occupy them when they are not teaching classes. They usually have this kind of setup for being able to do their work as well as to call students in to have conversations with them in case they need to discuss things or, you know, go over discipline or whatever. There's enough offices for 6 of them, plus the mysterious headmaster's office. This office has got a little bit more of a solid arrangement because it's actually also their room. So they have a little bit more storage and more things, and definitely more books. That also might be the only place you can find books that are not technically allowed in the school. These double doors lead to the faculty's bathroom and baths, where, because they're all adults and they should be able to act appropriately, there is a unisex bathroom. So we have that. This side is the bookstore. Zago is the quartermaster, a clockwork specialized wizard craftsman. This is the bookstore where students can come to procure their school supplies. There are numbers of textbooks available, school supplies, papers, pens, quills, bags. things for their familiars or for handling any other things that they may need, material components for spells, etc. Um, their issued supplies will be set out on these tables for when they first get to school. That would be their uniforms and basic materials like their stuff for their dorms. These are the craft stations. You do need to actually check them out with the quartermaster to enter, but they are basically stations to allow students to work on their own projects, whether it is for a piece of homework or for other things. The station has basic rudimentary supplies for crafting, and by crafting I don't mean like any craft skill. More specifically, these tables are designed to assist in the craft item feats, such as craft scroll or scribe scroll, brew potion, craft wand, and craft wondrous item. Most of the students in this campaign are between levels 1 and 5, so there's no real need for anything better than that. Though Zago's craft room upstairs did have more material or more tool benches for different crafting purposes. Here you can pretty much anything you need to, you can work on, and there's a total of 8 stations to rent at any given time. And you can rent it by, hours. So usually 4-hour sections. Down this way, on this side, is the commission student sales area. What this is for is students do still want to make money, so they can use spending money to buy unnecessary things from the bookstore or from when they go to town, etc. And this is how they do that. They can make things, whether it's scrolls or things that other students want, and basically this is the economy for the campaign. Students can put things to sell on one of these pedestals and then set a price, a minimum price at least, and then other students can come by and actually make offers on them to purchase the item. And when they do so, the item will be, they can take the item off the pedestal, and then the money will be given to the student next time they come by to pick it up. The bookstore does have a single golem to defend it in case that somebody tries to break in and steal stuff while the quartermaster's in his room. Speaking of his room, this is his storage room. There is quite a few storage shelves and drawers, cabinets, and everything. This is quite a lot of storage available for keeping things for a whole school. This is his room. It's somewhat tightly packed, but he has pretty much everything he needs for himself here, so that he doesn't have to leave from where he's working very often if he doesn't want to, and if I remember the person that made that character, it's just fine like that. One thing that I will note is that he does have quick access to his foundry through a secret passage up here, which, yep. So he can get access to it pretty quickly, and then also be able to come down to respond to other things down here just as fast. Moving on beyond the bookstore, we have the student classrooms, which is here. And then this is one of the first classrooms. They're all pretty much the same layout. There's 3 of them because of the number of students that are kept at the school at any given point in time. There's about 45 given both male and female dorms. So there's only really a need for 3 classrooms at once. The number of this would also include, guest teachers, or in case they have exchange students or people visiting who would like to sit in. This is basically the teaching structure that they have. The teacher can walk back and forth down the aisles and interact with the students as they're giving their lectures or providing materials. There are a total of 3 classrooms, like I said, and they're all pretty much arranged the same. Any actual exploration of things that require more materials may be done in the practice area. And there is another bathroom down here because students always have the I need to go to the bathroom thing before they go run off for, to go do whatever. And having a bathroom right at the end of the hallway, away from anything else that would be interesting, is a good way to cut down on shenanigans. Alright, now down here is the practice chambers. The large practice chamber here is meant for practice dueling and spellcasting between subjects, or practicing casting spells on subjects. These are the practice pads. They're specially designed with a warded stone area here, and these magical pylons that are meant to contain and focus magical energy, so that spellcasters can practice casting their spell without fear of it leaving the boundaries of this area. So you could drop a fireball right here and it would not hit anybody standing right here, though it would probably scare the crap out of them. In addition, it doesn't really do much for higher level magic, but the trickle of energy in here that is fed to those standing in this area near the pylons can help them recover their first level spell slots if they are a type that actually needs to worry about how many spells that they have per day. This will help prevent them from running out while they're practicing, because most first level wizards have 2 spells, and that makes for really boring practice if you can only go, oh yeah, I come to the practice room for 30 seconds and that half of that was me just figuring out what I wanted to do. There are a total of 10 practice chambers for personal spell practice. This is for practicing spells that affect yourself or summon a creature, and you don't have to worry about whether or not it will affect somebody else, and it's not a humongous area. You're not worried about testing your accuracy or range, as will be most of the spells that you're practicing in the school. Most of the students will be required to basically spend quite some time in these practice chambers. But like I said, they're meant to recharge your spell slots so that you don't really expend them. The first level spells, kind of like the way cantrips work. So students can get to practice for as long as they stay inside that area. And that's all that's in the student education learning area. Now we'll move on to the dormitory area. First things first, we have the library. The head librarian is Mrs. Tickle, or Ms. Tickle. She is actually a succubus that has deviated from the path of evil and was a somewhat helpful character in the first campaign and has remained so up until this one. This is a break room for people to sit and have snacks and whatnot while they're studying. It's also so that Miss Tickle doesn't have to punish people for touching books with grubby hands and spilling food. This is the main library area. There's, 2 separate rows of 80 feet worth of bookshelves and different, books of what types here. But that's not what's most useful for students. Up on the second floor is the actual reference section. This is a lot more books, and these are most of the books that you have to refer to. They have copies of all of the standard books about magic, about different schools of magic and spells, and all of that. The other section there is more of an recreational variety of books. Past here is a heavily warded area that you cannot access without specific permissions. That is the prohibited section of school. These books have information in them that could be... Ooh, that's odd. I'll have to fix that. That could be dangerous for students if they were to be reading them without any kind of restraint, whether it's potentially a cursed book or it just has information in it that could sway their opinion one way or another towards different behaviors. Stuff like tomes about necromancy written by a necromancer, or books about enchantment magic that also subtly enchant the reader. And it's not like they're just completely forbidden, it's just that you need to be able to prove to be that you can be responsible about your book before you're allowed to go in there to read them. This is a study hall for people who will need to sit down and go through books and stuff later into the night when the classrooms are closed. This is the nurse's office. Yet another returning character from the old campaign. Dr. Metzger is the head nurse. This is pretty much set up to be able to house about 14 students, maybe it's 12, if they do somehow get injured, and it is also closest to the student dorms in case that there really is an emergency. Like Zago, Dr. Metzger has his own room where he does not need to leave in case that there is an emergency and he needs to be quick at hand. He has a surgery room where he can actually do some more direct fixing. He is not a healer as in the classical divine caster term. He is an alchemist and a surgeon. So he does try to do a lot of his healing non-magically first. And he's really good at it, so it's not like it's been a concern. Next we have the student dorms and the faculty dorms. For ease of this flow of this, I'm going to go through the faculty dorms first. Obviously, students cannot just walk in here. There is a lobby for them to sit and read. This is also good for in case the teachers are doing patrols at night. They can sit here during some of that time and basically just keep an eye on the door, because there's no way for students to leave except through this doorway. So they can just sit here and basically watch anybody trying to sneak out in the middle of the night. So going in, there's about 7 rooms here for different teachers. And they're all about the same size. They're, 15 by 20, which is actually a pretty decent sized room. And they will be further furnished with whatever their personal things are. It's just for the purposes of this demonstration. I just had to have something there. And it's Miss Tickle's room. The only thing interesting about Miss Tickle's room is that she has a dungeon. I mean, she is a succubi and has been here for a long time. So yeah, she's got that. I'm going to not say anything more about that. Moving on, we're going to go to the student dorms. This section here is got 4 golem alcoves to protect the student dorms, and that's particularly because there were issues with when the first school fell about attacks being ambushed into the school and attacking students directly. These are only for the students' protection, and I'd already talked about how they can't attack the students themselves. So there is they're only here just to make sure that nobody can get to the students without extracting a serious cost, and also delaying them long enough for other defenses to arrive. This is the primary students' common room. I don't know if yes, I have a sign there for that. This is a fairly large chamber, and it's got furnishings, music and banners, books and shelves for things like, you could put student trophies on there or whatever. And it's pretty much there for the students to socialize and everything and commingle before they go to their rooms to sleep. I again have it split male-female, mainly because they're teenagers and they have hormones. And I've known quite a few teenagers who have made dumb mistakes. The dorms have bunk beds, and plenty of, each student gets a drawer and cabinet combination. And there's room here too. There's, lots of floor space for students to put other things here or hang stuff from the walls or ceiling. So they have lots of space for students to do their own private things here. It's the same for the men's dorm. So this is the student baths and toilets. Like I said, this is kind of unisex. There's just no real need to worry about it. All the toilets have their own doors. This is bathing. The walls are segmented in this way so that nobody can just kind of look through an archway and see somebody taking a bath. um, towels, changing drawers for clothes, and then the bath itself. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's magically circulated and heated so that the water is always clean and of a comfortably warm temperature. Okay, so let's see. Moving on. This is the dining hall. Everybody eats here, including the faculty. So this is a good chance for students to be able to have a chance to catch a teacher, to talk to them if they want to, get them in between classes or whatever. The kitchen here, yes, there are cookies and other things. This kitchen is actually staffed by unseen servants. They're basically invisible constructs that are programmed specifically just to cook meals. And then clean plates and stuff, so yeah. And that's all that's going on here, on this side of the school, so we've already explored quite a bit of it. The last section is actually this way, and this has a lot more to do with the outdoors and students' familiars or animal companions. This is the animal care section. This is where students' familiars are first kept when they are brought to the school. This is so that the caretaker can check them over, make sure that they're clean of any parasites, diseases, etc., magical bugs. And then this is where they keep feed and food for small creatures like familiars. The dining hall wouldn't have this material. And it's a nice place for students to sit while they can play with their familiars or spend time with them before they go. There's a certification that they can get that once they do, they can have their familiar with them while they're in their dorms or at class. So, but that's kind of part of this is very important for the initial process of becoming a student at the school. This is called the Pet Salon. It is a optional place where you can take your familiar to get them groomed, cleaned, prettied up, and generally just, treated well. There may or may not be benefits to the familiars for doing so, but it's something that you'll find out if you have one and you play in the game. This is the exterior. Now, it is a demi-plane, so there is a limit to the ceiling above, but it's, done magically, so it's not like you're likely to tell. This is the forest here. Very, very freaking large trees. To the side, we actually have a greenhouse where plants, or a lot of the plants that are used for the school are grown, as well as in different layers. A lot of these are the plants that are needed for material components for common spells, etc. There is a small lake. It's only about 250 feet across and about 100 feet wide, and at most I think goes to 20 feet deep. So it's not like a super deep lake, but it's basically bigger than an Olympic swimming pool, so there's that. There's some beach mats for people who want to enjoy the sun, and a meditation area with basically a Zen sand swirl and incense burners. To the side here is a place where people can wash up after get the sand off of them, and then also maybe pick up their clothes or change towels, etc. There are mats if they want to lay mats down on the sand before they sit down and meditate. It's used for centering and for certain specific spellcasting classes that need to have calm emotions in order to cast their spells. And that is pretty much it. That is all of the commonly known sections of the school. Now, I will tell you that there are several hidden passages and secret chambers in the school that you probably did not see and may not find unless you look around during the game. And again, I'd like to thank you guys for watching.